Good morning, my name is Paula. Welcome to our Beautiful Attitude. Today we're going to talk about biological foods. What is biological food? We are hearing daily, we are seeing it everywhere in advertising. Everyone is talking about it. And we are living like in a sort of hype time that biological food or organic foods are the only thing that is very good for us. Then what is wrong with the other foods? Are they all bad or what is the difference? You see, in a lot of poor countries, a lot of people, or warm countries to be honest with you, a lot of people, maybe some people has their own little yard with the greens and the chicken and little things, and most of the food they're eating is biological because they're not too much things messed up with the food. The plants, the vegetables, and the fruits are just growing naturally from the yard, and I have a chicken or something running around and bringing them eggs weekly. So this is how the normal way of life should be. But with this, our very massive life, massive shops, and multinational business that has to make sure that they get all these things done. And normally they use a lot of chemicals to put on the fruits and the vegetables. And if they want to call it biological, they have to have some rules. I'm going to put down a few rules that a few rules that we use. That big business have to use at least with one of these things before they can call their food biological. You see, they have to make sure that a lot of the food, the things are not fertilized. They have to make sure the chemical pesticides in the food are not so much or less or really no chemical things in the food, the fruits and the greens. For the animals, when they're sick, they try to use, don't use antibiotics because that is not good for the human body afterwards. It's using from another animal. Then they have systematic smell, color, or flavor agents. They have to take this out of the sweeties and the things and a lot of different things, things in packs, and so they have to make sure that as less as possible of these things is in it. There are also, when it comes to meat, there are also some CM organics. They have to make sure that is not in the meat. For example, they have to make sure the meat they're selling is not mixed with something else. For example, if it's a cow, it has to be a normal cow without too much DNA mixing all kind of things, because when it comes back into our body, it can be very bad for our health. So these are a lot of things that they have to think about, but a lot of bigger companies cannot make all these things possible. For example, these days, what they call biological is very simple steps. For example, normally they say the cows are always in a massive amount together. Biological milk comes from the cows that goes out in the yard a little more often in the summer. So that makes it biological. They say if a cow eats the grass naturally, the milk, they have a certain things that is more healthy in the milk for the omega-3, and that is good for our body. So that's why it's biological than the other one, more biological, better than the other one. Then it goes, for example, for biological fruits, for example, cherry, tomatoes. They say, for example, if the tomato is not then don't put too much chemicals in it, or no chemicals, then it's biological. Or for example, if it's they have strawberries and it's not growing in a cosmetic way, then that means it's normal growing from the ground, then it's biological. Of course, these things should be normal as always, but the time is changing, so we make things easily biological. For example, if you have the sweeties and the sweets have too much of mixed things in it to make it more, or no chemicals in it to make it more extra, that is not good, and they take this out or make it as natural as possible, and then they can say it's biological. For example, when you see if you look at the bigger part of things, you get fishes. They say fish is biological sometimes, a biological fish. They cannot have biological fish or biological shrimps. It's normally most taken from the sea. So these are all natural things. It's biological by natural anyway. Of course, they have cleaner and less clean in the sea, but now we can't measure that easily. So if you find fishes in the sea, it's always biological. So there's a lot of these things that you have to use for yourself and think about your brains. Even the fruits they use for the in the big masa, there's always something put on it to keep away the insects. So we always have to wash our fruits. Doesn't matter if it's biological or not biological. We always have to wash it because it can be just that it's biological because it's grown on normal ground, but the other things maybe it's not the same. So we have to very be careful and really look good at what we're eating and why it's biological, and do we want to pay so extra money just for that little difference. Sometimes we have the choice, and most of them we have the choice, and we can say yes. But it's very good to observe for yourself, even though it's an etiquette on it that is called biological. I hope this video inspired you, and I hope you have a very good day. Goodbye.